Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Report Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. William D. Morgan. Got a cast of thousands with me tonight. We're going to do this thing. We're going to break it down. Going to cover some of the most important NFL games that happened over the weekend. Have we seen a chink in the Miami Dolphins armor? Did Philly expose them, or was it more of the refs exposing themselves? We'll get into all of that and more. Got some NBA to talk about. I was part of the NBA fantasy draft tonight. Can't believe I had to pick James Harden. My team is doomed. But let me go ahead and bring everybody in. First, I'll read that team off to you and let you know how my team is ruined because of his fat suit. Let me stop. He dropped that fat suit a little bit ago, but it's all good. Let me go ahead and bring everybody in first. This man has forgotten more baseball than I will ever know. Let me bring him in. My brother from another mother. Seven, what's up?
Dude, I don't know if you've seen, I've got some bad news for you though.
What's that?
Harden hasn't even reported back to the team.
I saw that.
Yeah, he's not, I don't think he's playing tomorrow.
But he was right there for the taking, and he was right there for the, and I had to do it. I had to do it.
That was a trap pick, bro. I'm telling. I hate that was a trap pick.
Trap pick.
Oh man, that's brutal. That
Real
is
quick.
You're gonna regret that all year.
This is a team that I have, and it didn't turn out quite the way I wanted. But I got Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine, Andrew Wiggins. My first pick was Joel Embiid, James Harden, Buddy Hield, Bam, Bobby Portis, Jordan Clarkson. Then wrapping up the bench, Jeremy Grant, Harrison Barnes, Mike Conley. This one here, boy, another one. Draymond Green.
See, what's really bad is you could win your league, like just clean, or you could bottom out like that.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing about that roster because Hardman's still, Harding is still up in the air. Joel Embiid, when he's playing, he's solid, but if he gets injured, you're fucked.
Yep.
Draymond Green is he makes an impact with his mouth running like a plugged-in vibrator. But I mean, what's he get, like 2 blocks and 3 points a game?
But he passes the ball, he gets you assists, he gets you rebounds. So he's somebody's in the stats.
Yeah, he'll get you some assists and some rebounds, but like, and that's my hard thing. Like, I love Draymond Green as a shit talker, like, but for fantasy sports, I that's picking Draymond Green on fantasy basketball is like picking Dak Prescott as your starting quarterback in fantasy football. Like you're either going to be great or you're fucked.
And the last dude I picked up was Norman Powell. He pretty much scores when Kawhi Leonard or Paul George or both are out. So they're going to be out. So I'll go with him. So yeah, I'll take that team. We'll see what it does.
There's a lot of potential, and if James Harden comes back, I would see if somebody wants to try to see if you can get something for him. I would not. I get there's a lot of reward out of that risk, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. But
I
it's
got
like
you.
Dak Prescott as your quarterback or trying to rely on Clayton Kershaw in the playoffs. Like,
Ugh.
I can't do it, man.
I feel you. I feel you. All right, let me bring
let's
in.
bring him in because he's just kind of sitting there. I think he's getting bored at this point.
Yeah, let me go ahead and bring in my man Ambrose. Ambrose, what's up?
Kind of upset because the Raiders have taken to calling Josh McDaniels Josh McDumbass, and they're missing the golden opportunity to call him Ronald McDaniels because the guy's a fucking clown.
How you lose to the Bears? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, dude, I love.
Tell me that.
When I looked at Twitter yesterday, and I was going to Twitter to look for something else, and looked at my trending, and I saw McDumbass, and I went, "All right, who did what?" And I clicked, and it's instantly Raider references, and I went, "Oh, they're pissed." Which
Yeah,
they
but
Raiders
Derek Carr was the problem.
No,
they did at this point, as much as they did Derek Carr dirty, they did Derek Carr a favor.
they
They
did.
really did.
Yeah, man, I'm rooting. I told Will I'm rooting for the Saints. I want Derek Carr to go all the way. I want him because I hate Josh McDaniels. He cannot get fired soon and fast enough as a Raiders fan.
There's some coaches out there that should be coordinators, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, there are some guys like Norv Turner was like a nice guy, but he kind of didn't get it.
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels is just an asshole.
Here's my thing. And here's the other part of this question with McDaniels is I don't know that he can be a coordinator because he's not going to have Tom Brady on the other side.
Sure, but I won't.
So if he's not going to have Tom Brady under center out there.
Nope.
So can McDaniels even back into an OC role be successful anymore?
No, he spent his whole career playing Madden on rookie mode. He had arguably the greatest head coach in the history of the NFL, and he had the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL.
Amen.
And it's not like Bill Parcells, who went to a Jets team that was 2-14 the year before and made the playoffs.
Yeah,
he can't do that.
For me, the thing that baffles me about the Raiders is, and I think it, and I've got a friend that a pastor friend that he and I talk on Facebook constantly, and it's always about sports. It's my sister's godfather, and shout out to Mike Holman, I love you, man. And he and I go back and forth, and the problems start with Mark Davis. This is one of those issues where the problems with that organization start at the very, very top of that organization. Because as a Raiders fan, you can tell me that if Al were still alive, the shit in that organization would not be as bad as it is right now.
No,
Al Davis had to run
and the problem is Al Davis, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not even saying this as a Raiders fan, he's one of the most important people in the history of the NFL.
Absolutely.
He's on my Mount Rushmore, whether I'm a Raiders fan or not. But he also, like a lot of people, like George Steinbrenner, didn't want to let go, and he never groomed anybody. So his son's an idiot.
No, his son's an idiot. I'm not gonna.
I agree.
I'm not gonna.
But he didn't groom anybody. He didn't take the time to pull someone aside and be like, okay, I'm 80. You're the future of this organization. Shadow me and watch how I do things, and I want you to continue my legacy.
Right, but here's the thing, and here's my argument to that: is I think he did, but I think he picked the wrong person because I think it was Mark, and Mark is and again. To reiterate, Mark is a fucking idiot.
Well, let me just say, if I was Al Davis and my kid walked into my office with that silly ass haircut, I'd be like, no.
I still can't remember the fact that he looks like Nick Swartzen's character in The Benchwarmers, the guy that was allergic to the sun or was scared of the sun, wouldn't go outside. That's who he looks like. Every time I see him, that's the first thing that pops into my head. And he acts like it too. Like he's scared of, but instead of being scared of sun, he's scared of having a winning football team.
Like,
how many times in the last 20 fucking years have the Oakland or LA or Vegas Raiders been on the cusp of being a dominant playoff team and they fuck it up every time?
I just love the meme, and I'll close it on this. I love the meme where it shows Mark Davis sitting in a chair and it says Mark Davis looks like a first grader who was promised McDonald's if he doesn't shit himself in school.
That's fair.
That's fair. That really is fair.
And that's what I don't understand is, and how the owners like, and I understand a lot of those guys are older. They remember Al, and they're holding on to the idea of Al. How do you not come to a point where you're like, because obviously I don't think there's been anything where they can try to force him to sell the team, but a lot of
it, and I'll cut you off here because I think I know where you're going. A lot of it comes down to the commissioner, because when Al was getting old, there's a tactful way to tell someone to move along. Yeah. And when Al was getting old and he was going on those unhinged rants and throwing press conferences with the first grade, like, overhead projector, and like when he was doing that, where was Roger Goodell? Because Roger Goodell should have just been like, Roger Goodell should have picked a number 2 and been like, we respect Al, but we got to let him ride off into the sunset. And Paul Tagliabue would have done that. Paul Tagliabue would have gone in and he would have said, Al, we love you, but it's time.
No, you are 100% correct. And that's, and Major League Baseball needs to do that to Art Moreno. And they need to do it yesterday. And we'll dive into that a little bit more when we get into baseball. But on the Major League side, or on the NFL side, they should absolutely be in his ear like, hey, man, you really, it's time to move on because you're starting to fuck with the business.
Like, a perfect example was when the New York Giants, when the Mara brothers were fighting, it was Wellington and I think Tim.
Yeah.
Because
I remember that.
Tim Sr., I believe, I don't know the lore. I think Tim Sr. died and Tim Jr. took over, and Tim Jr. didn't get along with his uncle. And Pete Rozelle got the two of them in a room, and he was like, you two motherfuckers own the team in the largest market in the league, and you're a laughing stock. Figure it the hell out.
There needs to be some back-end intervention with that organization. And until the league has the stones to make that step, because nobody's going to criticize that move except for probably Mark Davis.
No, they were more concerned with the Redskins name than they were with the projection of the league. It's bizarre. The NFL is bizarre right now.
And the sign that they needed to intervene was the hit job on Gruden, because the hit job on Gruden, and I know that Dan Snyder was involved in that, but that Mark Davis was a part of it, or was the leading head, because Mark Davis wanted to get out of the contract with John Gruden because he regretted giving him a 10-year deal, and they get all of this information leaked. And it distracts from all of the Dan Snyder shit and all of the stupid stuff that he did, because everybody is so focused on, oh, John Gruden said some racist shit. Oh, John Gruden said some homophobic shit.
But it's taken out of context. It sounded racist, but rubber-lipped isn't really a racist term. If you put it in context and you call someone and you say it with that intention, it's racist. But it means someone that babbles. Right. And that's always what it's been. It's kind of like how Southerners use the term tar baby. and then people, because tar is black, they connotated that with a racial term, but a tar baby means you're in a problem you can't get out of.
Right.
Right.
And they he said it, it's in an email, it's out of context. The cultural climate right now is very sensitive, and he fell victim to that.
But you have to understand, there's some things in this world you just don't do. And to use some of these connotations like tar baby, and you said it, in this day and age, asking for trouble.
And especially with Gruden, he's an idiot, because I believe, God, this story was like, what, 3 years ago? I believe he was talking about the head of the NLPA, who is African-American.
Right.
So you're not, you call someone that, if I say to 7, you're being rubber-lipped, that's not offensive, you know? I say it to you when there's an audience, there's a context there, and people are going to be like, this guy's a fucking racist.
Right.
You know?
Well, in the fact that these were in email exchanges from 5 to 10
like 15 years ago,
before this information came out, that also matters, because first of all, people learn, hey, you're not supposed to say that shit anymore. In 2005, forgive my language, but the word retard was flying around like it was the
you
free
still
business
got 2005, you still got Michael Perez Hayes calling us the N-word.
Exactly.
You still got that going on.
There's so many, and yes, times change, and that has
there's a list of words I could say right now that were perfectly acceptable back then that'll get us demonetized right now. You know, so I mean, you can't.
And that's my point. Is and again, it's not to condone everything that Gruden said, but it is to say that what happened was a coordinated hit so that Mark Davis could get out from under that contract, and John Gruden did more in his 2 coaching tenures for that organization than anybody else in the last 30 years.
Facts.
And on top of that, he fed, like, a gift fell into his lap with Rich Bisaccia, because, you know, you lose your blue chip receiver for doing some stupid shit. You lose your head coach for doing some stupid shit. You got injuries. This guy comes in from special teams, runs the gauntlet, and makes it to the playoffs, and you fire him.
And I think that so much of what's happening with that organization right now is karma. And I hate to say it like that, but there's no other way to put it.
There's not even any other team in sports history to compare this to. There's no team that has fallen this far. The Raiders went from being the winningest team from 1970 to 2000 to being the Cardinals.
The Cardinals, the way the Broncos are now, the Redskins / Commanders, whatever their names are this week, no, you're 100% correct. It's in that league of destruction, because, like, you look at, even with how bad the Chiefs were from, we'll say, 90 to 2010.
Yes,
that was a solidly not good stretch for my team.
But so the Chiefs were always on the cusp. Exactly. They went to some AFC championship games. They blew some divisional rounds. They were always there, but they weren't there.
They're even when you had to deal with guys like Brody Quinn or Brody Quinn, his name was, you had Romeo Crennel as head coach for a year. That was a fucking disaster.
Hell yeah.
Let me just sum the Chiefs up. They won 13 games with Steve Bono.
Exactly. They were a playoff team in a year that Alex Smith did not throw a single touchdown pass to a fucking wide receiver. They were almost a wild card team that season. You remember that season?
Yeah, I remember. Y'all should have won with your boy though. Y'all should have won.
You were a Joe Montana dive away from a Super Bowl in '93.
Y'all should have won with Joe and Allen.
They just had the difference is the Chiefs had bad luck. The Raiders created a bad situation.
Exactly, because the year before Andy Reid came to Kansas City Chiefs were 2-14 in the season before. And I'm like 90% sure that was also the year that Romeo Crennel was a head coach, because it just makes sense.
Yeah, but to play devil's advocate, I don't know how I would handle a situation, because didn't Romeo Crennel have a turbulent year the year before? I mean, if I'm coaching and I'm sitting in my office and a player comes in and just, offs himself in front of me, I'm not going to have a very productive year.
That was, and
I mean,
but still, he was. Go back and look at his college days. Mm-hmm. He was terrible.
Here's the difference, though, and this is why I brought this up. Kansas City was always on the cusp, but when things bottomed out in that 2-14 season, there was an immediate culture change that generated results. So it's not that it can't be done. It can be done if you do it with a purchase or with a purpose. The Hunt family said, family said, you know what? We're sick of always being right there and never getting over it. The mother of the Super Bowl has not gotten to see her team win a Super Bowl in 50 years. Yep. And they made a change. The Raiders, with Mark Davis, and the history of that organization, which is as storied as Kansas City, if not more storied, because of all of the Super Bowl wins that they had up until Kansas City became what they are today.
But I mean, the difference is, though, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I hate the Chiefs with every fiber of my being as a Raiders fan. Lamar Hunt had his son by his side watching everything and watching him make his moves. Al Davis didn't do that. Lamar Hunt groomed his, can I say groomed on YouTube? Well, I just said it, so I don't care. Lamar Hunt groomed his son to
good grooming and bad grooming. Let's just say that.
Yes.
Yeah, I already brought up context. This is grooming in good context. Okay. Lamar Hunt sat there with his son, let him watch him make the moves he's going to make, taught him patience, taught him virtues, said, you're going to lose some seasons, you're going to win some seasons, but you really got to wait it out. Marty Schottenheimer was a great coach. He liked to bang the cheerleaders, so we had to get rid of him. But, we got to do that. Al Davis didn't do that with Mark. Al Davis is Mark Davis is like Billy Madison.
Yeah. I think that's where.
I'm sorry. Will, do you have to introduce anyone else? Do we just overtake the? Oh, okay, right.
But they want to get into some football when y'all get done.
Yeah, and that's where that culture and the issue from the top down comes, because it's just like with the Angels in Major League Baseball. The problems start at the top because you've changed literally everything else. Literally, in that organization from the top down, everything else has been changed. It's still fucking up. Now it's time to look at the ownership and go, look.
But you know what? Artie Moreno made world history because he's the only human being that could take something over from Disney and somehow make it worse.
Yeah. Now, I will say this about the Raiders. They've done some good things. Josh Jacobs is a good thing.
Yeah. Max Crosby.
Devontae Adams is a good thing.
Yeah.
They've done some good things. But
that was Mike Mayock, and they fired him. So, as a whole, they got to get it together. Because I think the NFL, kind of like in the NBA when the Knicks are relevant, it's kind of like, to me, the NFL is better when the Raiders are relevant because they carry that tradition. And that is a problem, and it should be on the commissioner's mind because, you look at classic games, you look at the history of the NFL, the Raiders are an integral and important team to the NFL. They are important. Their success is important. It's not like we're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey.
Or, and no offense to the Jaguars, but the Jaguars are just kind of there.
On this show.
What did you say?
Sunshine.
I mean, it's not like we're talking about the Jaguars or we're talking about the Cleveland Browns. It's the Raiders. Commitment to excellence. Just win,
How
baby.
dare you disrespect Bernie Kosar like that? How dare you do that to Bernie Kosar?
No, you know what? Bernie Kosar, I will give respect. Bernie Kosar belongs in the Hall of Fame. If Ernest Biner didn't fumble on that goddamn play, Bernie Kosar would be a Hall of Fame.
That would have changed his whole outlook. His whole outlook would have changed. Oh my goodness. They kicked Ernest Biner off Tecmo Bowl after that. All right. They kicked his ass off Tecmo Bowl after that. What? Get your ass out.
Ernest Biner has been replaced. We just ballot swapped Bo
Replaced.
Jackson. He's on the Browns now too.
All right, you guys. The game of the week. I'm deeming this the game of the week. It didn't end up like that, but I'm deeming this the game of the week. The Philadelphia Eagles defeat the Miami Dolphins 31-7. Here's my thing. And this is why I sort of kind of say Miami might be exposed. They're fit to be a solid team all season. Every solid team they've played, they've lost.
Yeah, but I mean, putting 70 points up even on a shitty team.
So you might call it karma, and I get it.
I mean, I don't think Miami's bad. I think people are reading a lot more into it than they are. I just think Philly's that good.
Yes.
I mean, Philly's coming off a week where the Jets beat them for the first time in league history.
Yep.
So everyone got on the Philly sucks bandwagon. And then Philly rebounded by beating Miami. I think Philly's the real deal. They can end up back in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't think that loss is as big as people are making it out to be.
They're a legit team that can. We saw it last year. They're a legit team. My one thing that I hate about them is that little push play.
That's why they won the game last night.
That's how they won the game. And
4 for 4.
I hate that. I hate it. It's not offensively innovative at all.
But
we could have come up with that.
The baseball fan in me says if there's no rule against it, do it. But the logical person in me says that's not the spirit of the game. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it.
And I guess they're gonna run it till they ban it.
And that's the thing is, and they will, because if you've got less than a yard, you've got that line with a quarterback who can squat, mind you, 600 pounds, something that a lot of linemen in the league can't even fucking do.
Yep.
And that's why, and that core reason, Jalen Hurts, and I will say this, as much as I am not on as much of a Jalen Hurts bandwagon as some other people in the sports media are, the reason the tush push is successful is because of the strength of Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
But wait, can I just bring something up? Because there is a play that's illegal, because I know back in the day I read fullbacks and running backs used to have straps on their pants so that people could loft them over the line.
But you're going,
and that became illegal. So how is this play not in the spirit of that rule?
Well, I think because it goes through, not over. And a lot of those running backs were essentially getting tossed like it's fucking Lord of the Rings and Gimli's going over to fight some shit. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so say you have some like brick shithouse Ray Lewis dude plug in the middle up. You push your quarterback in, your quarterback breaks his neck because the guy doesn't give a damn and he doesn't want him to score.
Yep. Like
it's going to take someone to get hurt for this rule to get banned.
And that's exactly what it's going to take for it to get banned. And I think that, but as long as Nick Sirianni's allowed to call that play, he's going to call that play.
He's going to call it.
92% of the time it works.
I mean, it's a dangerous play because eventually someone's just going to be like Madden and be like, they're going to run it, just do punt protect. And everyone's going to close in and someone's going to get hurt.
Yep. And until that happens, and here's the thing, here's what's going to make it even worse. Chances are, you want to know who it is that's going to get hurt?
The quarterback.
It's going to be Jalen fucking Hurts.
It's going to be Jalen Hurts. Yep.
Jalen Hurts is going to get hurt.
Because the way you run that play, he lowers his head. All it takes is for someone to give him a quick hit to the back. He runs into someone's belly, and his neck is fucked.
Yep. No, and that's exactly what's going to happen. But for Philly's sake, this is what it is right now. And I will say, last night the Eagles beat the Dolphins. That's what happened. The Dolphins were really trying. They were down 14 at one point and got back into the game up. But I will say, and Mike McDaniels, I know I posted this in our group chat earlier. Mike McDaniels went off on Twitter this morning, and he took responsibility for the shortcomings and the missed opportunities that the Dolphins had.
Tyreek had that drop.
Tyreek had the drop, but they had some pre-snap penalties that they shouldn't have had.
Yep.
Because guys were moving when they weren't supposed to.
Yep.
But there were 8, and he had receipts, footage and everything. 8 plays that were impactful plays where a penalty wasn't called that should have been called.
Well, I mean, also another issue is too, I mean, and it's with people perceiving progress. Football is supposed to be a developmental sport. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike McDaniel's a first-year coach, isn't he?
Second
year.
Okay, so even in your second year, he's doing a great job.
Absolutely.
And like everyone is sitting here, the problem with football fans is now there's so much money floating around the league. When we were in the 80s and 90s, it was like, all right, man, team finished 7-9, but let them cook. Let them cook. We're going to, like, look at Dallas. Dallas, when Jimmy Johnson took over, 1-15. If Jimmy Johnson took over Dallas now and went 1-15, he'd be fired.
Immediately.
He'd be fired. They wouldn't let him cook. It used to be let him cook, let the team gel, draft some players. We'll get there. And now you want instant success. So when Miami loses to a good team, oh, they suck. They're done.
No.
They lost to the Eagles. They suck. They're done. Peyton Manning went 3-13 and sucked in his first year.
Yep.
If he got drafted last year, he'd be a third-string quarterback in Cleveland.
What makes it even worse, and I think what makes it even worse for the criticism on Miami is right now the AFC Championship game is Miami and Kansas City. But everybody's going to say Miami sucks. No, Miami is going to earn that spot in the AFC Championship game, and I'm going to say that as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, somebody who's going to have to watch this game and watch my secondary get burnt by Tyreek Hill all fucking game, because it's going to happen. But Miami is a...
I can assure you, as a Raiders fan, I'll be rooting for Miami. I don't mean to, But.
I understand.
I bet y'all wish I had Sorensen for that game.
No. I don't even want Dan Sorensen in the stands. I don't want him anywhere near that game. Y'all can keep him. I'm really happy that he is now back on the New Orleans Saints, because that's exactly where I want him. Not at risk of him being in a fucking Chiefs jersey again.
I'm
just really quick. I'm going to say this just so that this part is done. It was announced today. Wide receiver Justin Ross was arrested. Criminal damage greater than $25,000, usually DV related. The dude's only had 3 catches, like 34 yards yesterday. Hasn't had a lot of involvement in Kansas City. Missed last season because of the injury. And
got hurt.
Started. If this is, especially because it's a felony and that's a big amount of damage.
Yeah.
Justin Ross might no longer be a Kansas City Chief by the end of the week.
Well, and honestly, on that note, this is why it should be mandatory, not optional, mandatory for everybody drafted to attend Chris Carter's seminar that he does every year for people that were drafted.
Yep.
So he does that. I don't even think he gets paid for that. He shows up. He lets them know the pitfalls, because a lot of these kids, I mean, I'm not going to say they're dumb. I'm not going to say they're uneducated, but they're young.
Yeah.
And it's like you're handing a 16-year-old a Ferrari. You're handing a 20-year-old kid millions of dollars.
Yep.
And you know, a lot of these kids, again, they're not dumb, they're not uneducated, but a lot of them are coming from situations where they didn't have anything like that.
Right.
And it's like, if I won the lottery right now, I'd probably act like that.
Yep.
You know, and it needs to be mandatory for them to attend these seminars so they can at least get some grasp of the situation they're about to enter.
The Trevor Bauer situation is prime reason why every rookie should have to attend that conversation.
Henry Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs. Every single one of them. Because even the undrafted guys, if you are on a roster before camp, you should have to attend that conversation. And it's because you find success in undrafted guys.
You do.
And some of the drafted guys are managed to still put things away and manufacture enough that they make a little bit of money before they end up out of the league in 4 or 5 years. And you've got some decent benefits coming from the league, a little bit of a pension probably. And you know, there's all these little things. These guys need to know that stuff too.
And before we move on, I just want to make a bold prediction, because I think Peyton Manning helped lift the curse of Bobby Lane in Detroit. Detroit's been on fire. I think Detroit might make it to the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, not after yesterday. Not after yesterday.
Oh, everybody has a bad game.
Not after yesterday. Oh my gosh, they got mollywopped yesterday. Plus, I still think
don't use my word.
Put mollywopped. Mollywopped. Plus, I still think the best team in the NFC is the Philadelphia Eagles. And the 49ers are right behind them, even though they're losing right now 22-17. First Cousins came to play. He came to play. The other game I want to talk about, you guys.
Don't talk about the Bears.
How about them Patriots, y'all? Getting that big, huge win against the Buffalo Bills, and Josh Allen with his interception throwing ass.
That's why I'm saying everybody has a bad game. Hey, yeah, we've all seen boys. We've all seen boys in the hood. The sun's got to shine on a dog's ass someday.
There is, and yes, but with Josh Allen, that's not a bad game. Josh Allen leads the league in interceptions over the last 5 years. He leads the league in red zone turnovers since he came into the NFL. Josh Allen is not that guy.
Okay, but
somebody who is, I watched that game yesterday. Somebody who is that guy could have beaten that Patriots team yesterday, and that's my point.
But the stats as they are, you throw those stats out, they're that bad. But with what you just pointed out, is Brett Favre not a Hall of Famer?
I mean, obviously he is, but
yeah. But
he need to be taken out for that bull jive he did. He need to be taken out for that bull jive. You don't do that.
But Brett Favre
do that.
Brett Favre did the same exact shit as Josh Allen did yesterday.
Right.
So don't cash Josh Allen out just yet.
Don't get me started on Brett, because Brett need to go. He need to go. I still think, and this is just my opinion, you guys. I don't know how you feel about it. If you're a Hall of Fame player, and you're in that upper echelon of Hall of Fame player, personal conduct matters. It matters.
Yeah,
and I just think when you do something that egregious.
Are you talking about? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the situation. Wasn't there something where he stole money for a college or something? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to get on the same page with you.
And you know, down there in Mississippi, some of the most poverty is built are basically one of the poorest cities in the country.
It's like the 45th poorest state in America.
Yeah, and to steal money from those people to build a volleyball court.
Okay, and on principle, I understand what you're saying, and on principle, I agree with you. But it's a slippery slope. Because if you remove him, what do you do with OJ? Or Ray Lewis?
Ray Lewis literally killed a guy.
He killed
Yeah.
the guy.
So what do
Yeah.
you do? I
Literally
mean,
killed the guy.
so
Yeah.
are you going to remove like a lot of these guys that are in the Hall of Fame are not nice guys? So are you just going to purge half of the Hall of Famers?
And that was going to be my point. Like it's the being a professional athlete or being in the Hall of Fame for a professional sport is not a vessel for morality. It is
This is
the
true.
ability to do what you're supposed to do on the field of play.
Right.
And to that end, Brett Favre did what he was supposed to. Now, my counter for Josh Allen is going to be, if you look at the level of talent, and yes, there is a stark difference in level of talent between when Brett Favre played and what Josh Allen faces now. Brett Favre is in the Hall of Fame because of the level of talent that he faced. He didn't face the difficulty of secondaries that Josh Allen does.
Facts.
Brett Favre is in the Hall of Fame because he had the best receivers in the game at the time.
And they've got plenty of...
Come on.
No, you're right. You're right. And again, it goes
He'd have
back
had 600 more interceptions if he didn't spend his first 4 years throwing to Sterling Sharp.
100%.
Yeah.
No, you are 100% correct that the weapons that Brett Favre had played an impact on it. But you've got guys. But look at the wide receiving core right now in Buffalo. There is a solid that is a solid, talented core. I'm not saying it's the best. It's definitely top 5 in the AFC.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can argue with me on that.
Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs alone swings it into their favor into the top 5 because of his ability. And you're not even getting a lot out of Stephon Diggs this year.
Nope.
That's not Stephon Diggs' fault. That's scheme, and that's Josh Allen not getting him the ball like he's supposed to.
But I also think with Josh Allen, and it's a lot of what I think, and I think it's what was the downfall of Lovie Smith in Chicago, because I think Rex Grossman had the same problem. I think with Josh Allen, if you watch Buffalo's games, he makes a bad play, he goes to the sideline, and here's where like Bill Parcells was a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
If Bill Parcells' quarterback screwed up, Bill Parcells would have an assistant hyping him up and saying, you know what, you just get back out there. Don't do it. Don't repeat your mistakes. Get back out there, learn something, get go through it in your head, think about what you did wrong, and just fix it.
Yep.
But like with Rex Grossman in Chicago and Josh Allen in Buffalo, you see them on the sidelines after they make a screw up.
Heads down.
They're alone.
Yeah.
There's no one assuring them. There's no one boosting their confidence.
But let me ask you
And
this.
that breeds
Let me
bad policy.
ask you this, though. Particularly in Josh Allen's case, because not too long ago, he got the bag. So do you treat a player of that caliber like that? Because, A, he is the team. He is your face.
Are you asking me if I treat my franchise player and
Would
give
you
him
treat
assurance
your
and tell
player-
him that
because
he has to
he
go out
just
there?
got the bag.
You're muted.
You're muted,
You
Seven.
fondle his balls on the sideline if you have to. You absolutely do. No, and here's the thing, and I'm gonna put this out because this is a cultural difference that the Bills have to realize if they're going to get to any level of success of the other talent that they face in like Kansas City, Miami, stuff like this, who all do this. When somebody messes up, you get that mic up stuff on the sidelines, those videos of those guys on the sidelines. They're like, hey, you'll get him next play. It's all right. We'll get him. It's okay. It's just one play. There is, they're amping them up. They're ramping them up. It's going to be okay. When they
That's what I'm saying.
Get the ball again.
Yeah.
That first play is almost always to that player to bring that confidence back to him. The teams that aren't successful consistently don't do that.
And and that's the thing. I mean, if I was an NFL owner, I would show someone a tape of a baseball game from a bad team and just say like for example, who sucked this year? The Mets.
God,
I would show them tape and be like, watch this. Like this pitcher comes out and you got a bench coach going over, talking to him, rubbing him on the shoulder, saying you're going to get him next time. Don't worry about it. Just don't. But the problem with a lot of the NFL coaches is they don't make that connection and they let their guys stew, and mentally their problems just get worse. It just
their head.
cycles itself in their head.
And on the mental health side of this, and I think is one of the reasons I like what Ryan Day does at Ohio State, and I'm gonna shout that out again because it's amazing in the mental health emphasis in the culture at that team. When for men, and we can all three of us can attest to this, when you fuck up majorly and it has an impact on other people around you, unless you've got somebody in your ear bringing you back down to reality, it will continue to eat at you and you will struggle. It will distract you.
Yeah, I mean,
to carry.
Like, I'm very open about my mental health problems. I know Will from Writing for Geek News Now. I write an article and someone criticizes it or I get something wrong. It eats at me for days, and I got to have our editor call me and be like, dude, it's all right. We fixed the problem. It's okay. But, like, it's in your head, and you have to have that guy just getting back in your head and saying, it's not the end of the world. Go out and get it right on the next try.
That's cultural leadership. Culture and leadership is what fixes that, and that's what I'm talking about.
Facts. Yeah. The other game we wanted to get into that went down yesterday was that crazy shootout between the Browns and the Colts yesterday. The Browns ended up winning that thing 39-38. That was one of the craziest games ever. Oh my goodness!
I mean,
Gardner Minshew was out there slinging that thing.
I mean, I love this story just because it reminds me of when I was a kid and the Browns were like kind of good. And
90s.
You know, you're thinking, you're looking at it on the highlights and you're like, is this 1992?
Yep. The Browns played really well yesterday.
And that was with Deshaun getting hurt.
Yeah.
He
played really well.
You know what? Honestly, I think it's happened before. And I think that Deshaun Jackson situation is going to – not Jackson, Watson. He's Watson, right? Jackson was Philadelphia. Sure. I think it's going to work out for the Browns in a way they didn't envision.
Yeah.
I think he's going to peter out and someone's going to come from the backup position. And I think it's going to start a new culture for the Browns. And you know what? I mean, they're a joke, but the Browns deserve it, man. It's
Browns ain't no joke. That
franchise has been through the ringer.
But that defense has been amazing. Oh my goodness, Myles Garrett's a beast.
I mean, I would love just because both teams' fans have just been through the ringer. I would love to see like a Browns-Lions Super Bowl.
I'd watch that.
I mean, I just because I don't have any dog in the fight with either team, but like both of those fan bases have been so disenfranchised. It would just be nice to see them happy for a minute.
Maybe if Nick Chubb played, I'd watch it.
I want to see Detroit in a Super Bowl because I think it'll be good for that city.
Yeah.
Because that city has been through so fucking much, and because of the way that the auto industry is changing, I don't think it's over.
Yeah, I've recently been to Detroit, and it's
rough.
You look at it, and it's hard to look at because the architecture is beautiful, and the city is beautiful, but then you realize half of those buildings are empty, and it's rough. It's a rough. It's kind of like you look at Detroit, and that's like America's version of Rome.
Yep. So for my day job, I write home insurance and renters insurance, and if I get somebody calling in for homeowners insurance, and it's a Detroit zip code, there is a 99.9% chance I can't sell them insurance, and the reason it is because they're buying, you're getting a 1,500 square foot home on a great deal, $40,000-$50,000. It's starting to work back in a little bit better of a generation. I think over the last couple of months, I've seen some of them are starting to get to the 80 to 90,000 range. But when it's going to cost $400,000 to rebuild that home,
Right.
and that's a traditional home insurance policy, and that's all I'm allowed to sell most of the time, you can't. I can't do anything. And that's you look at these homes, and they've been vacant for a decade. And they were foreclosed on when the auto insurance, the automakers started pulling out,
Mhm.
and then it's just sat there.
Yeah, it's the same problem I have here in Maryland with Baltimore.
Yep.
You go into Baltimore, and there are blocks and blocks and blocks of just empty houses.
Yep.
And you look on Zillow, I could buy like 4 or 5 houses in Baltimore for like $6,000.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
there's entire zip codes in Baltimore where if I put it in, my system's just like, yeah, no, this ain't gonna happen. It's
Damn.
instantly no. And the company I work for, like, we will take a lot of shit. Like, we don't even get mad if you haven't had home insurance in a little while. Like, as long as there's no damage to the home, like, we can make it work.
Mhm.
But I can't. There's parts of Baltimore that I can't write insurance in. There's Detroit, a large portion of Michigan. Honestly, like, it's very, very
I'm sure
difficult.
DC's on that list.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, DC's not bad. I don't really have too much of a problem with DC. It's expensive because of fucking crime, but I can write it.
That surprises me because I live in this area, and there are some parts of DC where it's like, I need to leave.
It's
Get out of here right now.
Hey, guess who made it? Let me cut you off something. Guess who made an appearance tonight? Cam Akers.
Taylor Swift?
No, Cam Akers. And you know
So-
what happened to him? Stuff for 3 yards. 3-yard loss.
Taylor Swift would have gotten those 3 yards.
One of the things that's crazy about the wait, crap. Now I can't remember what I was gonna say.
Yeah, we were talking about Detroit, Baltimore, cities.
You said houses. Okay, never mind. Fuck it. We'll just move on. Sorry. Yeah, I can't remember what I was gonna say.
But another game I want to look at very, very quickly, as we're nearing 7:58 left to go on Monday night. Minnesota is right now up on the 49ers, 22-17. I feel so sorry for the Green Bay Packers. You got to have Jordan Love. He's not very good. We told you this at the start of the season.
Is that the quarterback? I'm not familiar with the Packers roster. That's the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Like Aaron Rodgers didn't want to get, the poke from the unknown disease from an unspecified origin. So they let him go, and he went to the Jets, and they got this clown in, and this clown sucked so bad when he debuted in like Kansas City, they gave his mom like seats in the last row of the damn stadium.
Last row.
Listen, okay. So that was bad. But
That was hilarious. That was not bad. That was hilarious.
it was kind of funny.
No, not kind of funny. Really funny.
He's
Honestly,
terrible as a
here's the
quarterback, though.
Jordan Love yesterday was 21 of 31, for 180 yards, 2 tutties, 1 pick. Okay.
21 of 31. You complete 21.
And
21 completions. You got to say on average, you're going to hit 10 yards of completion. So you're going to at least get 220 yards. He didn't even hit that.
so, but here's the thing. Look at Russell Wilson, 20 of 29.
He sucks. I will look at Russell Wilson. He
94
sucks.
yards.
He's
So
awful.
1 tutty, 6.7 average yards per pass on.
And that's
Russell Wilson has always been garbage. You can even ask Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman will come out and say he got Russell Wilson that written.
He
Russell Wilson's been garbage. Russell Wilson threw an interception on the 1 yard line.
Hey, bro, we don't call him Russell Wilson. We call him Sierra's husband.
Ciara's husband. But Jordan Love was actually not as much of a problem yesterday. But let's look at
But I mean, that completion, when you look at the completion, I'm sorry to cut you off. I apologize. I admittedly have been drinking, so I don't mean to cut you off that vehemently. But when you look at that completion to yardage ratio, when you look at that completion to yardage ratio, I mean, he's throwing pop gun passes. He's throwing screen passes. He's throwing 5-yard passes. He's throwing 3-yard passes. You complete 21 yards, you should at least hit 200 yards.
He ain't scared not to lose.
I mean, you know.
But I was talking with a friend of mine that's a Packers fan, lives up in the area, and because I kind of wanted to give him shit yesterday about losing to the Broncos.
Yep.
And you lost to the Broncos.
Yep.
It's funny. It's funny, but
you couldn't clear 200 yards passing on the Broncos. Miami put up 70 points.
Here's the thing, though. I will say, to the Broncos' benefit, the best part about that team is their defense.
And I think the thing with their defense is they're finally starting to get healthy.
They are.
They've been out of sorts since preseason, but now they're starting to get healthy again. So you may see the best of them later on in the season.
The best part of that team has to be the defense.
It is.
Because the offense can't score.
Terrible.
Yep. Terrible.
Like, this isn't the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens.
It's terrible.
Like,
terrible.
Like at least like with the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens, those offenses were like competent, and they were like, we can at least get into the red zone and maybe score a touchdown. Like the Broncos, like Russell Wilson gets the ball and he looks at it and looks at it like he doesn't know what it is.
So it's CRS. But it's crazy when you think about it.
Is this my smartphone? Can I text Sierra?
Where the buttons at?
You look at, we'll use the 2000 Ravens as an example.
Yeah.
You're getting more out of Trent Dilfer. Trent fucking Dilfer than you are out of Russell Wilson. Are you serious? Are you serious?
Because Trent Dilfer knew his role. He went in, he ran the clock, he threw his pop gun arm, he gave the ball to Jamal Lewis, and it was over.
Shout out to Jamal Lewis.
You dump it off to Shannon Sharp a few times.
He had Shannon Sharp.
Yep.
Shout out to Shannon Sharp.
Shout out to
I mean, you know, and Dilfer, and let's not forget, Dilfer was not necessarily people clown on Dilfer.
Was on Dilfer.
People say Trent Dilfer was kind of like, you know, a stalwart quarterback for a good defense with Baltimore. Dilfer was at some points, I'm not going to say great. He was a good quarterback for Tampa Bay. He made a couple of Pro Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
If he was drafted by a different team, his career could have projected a lot better. So, I mean,
he was an above average quarterback. It was, I think a lot of the criticism of Dilfer came down to decision making and his arm. Like, and he could get the deep ball when he needed to.
Mm-hmm.
His deep ball was not as reliable as the people that he's judged against, and I think that's where it comes from.
But I mean, when you're drafted by Tampa Bay, when Tampa Bay was Tampa Bay as we all knew them, right, and not Tampa Bay now, and you spend your game getting the shit kicked out of you,
right? Like fucking
11. I mean,
he got his ass kicked. He was,
he made the Pro Bowl as a Tampa Bay quarterback, and he had potential. And that's why the draft kind of sucks sometimes, because if he was drafted by a team like Dallas or a team that knows how to build quarterbacks, with the exception of Dak Prescott, because that man is Dak Ham, you know, like, yeah. Seriously, he's Dak Ham. He's not even Dak Prescott. He's not even Spam. He's the thing that's next to Spam that you move out of the way so you can get your Spam.
There you go.
But I mean, Trent Dilfer had potential, and Tampa Bay was not in a good state at that point. And and there's a lot of quarterbacks that went through that, and he's one of them.
Yep.
And I think, and if he was drafted by a good program, like imagine Trent Dilfer getting drafted by like the Patriots in the fashion of Tom Brady. We'd be talking about that man in Canton right now.
But all that.
I know, because coaching situations matter, and I happen to agree.
No,
with that.
organization situations matter. Like Tim Couch going to Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Couch could have been a Hall of Famer. Tim Couch went to Cleveland and broke his leg.
I mean, look at Andrew Luck. If Andrew Luck was in a better situation than the problems that he had with the Colts, Andrew Luck is a Hall of Famer and has at least 3 rings.
Yeah, there's Andrew Luck. There's Tim Couch. Who's the guy that got drafted by the Texans when the Texans were a new team? The other Carr, David.
Carr, the most.
Yeah, how are you going to be? How are you going to be a Houston? How are you going to be a Houston football fan and talk shit on your quarterback when the dude got sacked 72 times?
I think we would have gotten more out. I will give you that if David Carr was in a better situation, we would have gotten more out of him as a quarterback. But I'm not sure he's a Hall of Famer. I still can't say that.
No one can possibly say that, but he would have been better.
Oh, absolutely better. Better.
All right, guys, before we get into baseball, I just want to let y'all know the Vikings up on the San Francisco 49ers 22-17. 2 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. 2 minutes. San Fran got to make something happen.
Is Kirk Cousins still the quarterback for the Vikings?
Yep.
San Francisco's going to win. Okay, let's move on.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the 7th inning stretch, and then we'll get on out here for the night. Let's go.
I want to be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain, I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints.
All right, 7, hit it.
So we are 1 in, let's see, how many outs?
Did we lose our host? Are we orphans?
No, he probably stepped back for a second. He's fine.
Oh, okay.
1 of the 3rd innings left in Game 7 of the ALCS. The Rangers are currently up on the Astros 11-3. Game 7 of the NLCS is tomorrow, where Arizona will play Philadelphia for the shot for the National League seat for the World Series, because Arizona beat Philadelphia earlier today 5-1 off of a stellar performance by Merrill Kelly. The Rangers are playing hungry right now. Like, I was watching most of the game tonight.
They're both at Game 7. I'm sorry to cut you off. I haven't been following because I've had a lot of shit going on with the kid.
No worries. Yeah. Both Game 7s. So we're getting some truly classic baseball between with both of these series. Arizona earned their seat where they're at right now, and they after absolutely logging the Dodgers in a 4-game sweep, they started off struggling against Philly, and because Philly has some of the best bats left in the series, and in the postseason, and Arizona has found their groove in the Arizona has found their groove again. They've done really, really well keeping the bats of Philly at bay. Looking at the numbers earlier, Kyle Schwarber, who now has the most postseason home runs of any left-hander in Major League Baseball history. So yes, he has passed Reggie Jackson.
I really hate that stat because
it's harder for left-handers.
I mean, but for like 70 years, there was only the World Series. So I really hate that statistic, because if Babe Ruth got a wild card round and a divisional round and the World Series, he'd have like 80 postseason home runs.
I mean, you're not wrong. The format of the postseason now versus what it was in the dead ball area certainly impacts those numbers. There's no question about that. But outside of the way that the wild card round has changed,
I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Schwarber, but I just mean like
no, yeah,
you can't say he's better than like Jimmy Fox.
No. And I don't think anybody's saying that. I think, but when you look at the modern format of the postseason, over the last 10 years, Kyle Schwarber's been fucking electric. And that not just what he did with the Cubs, but also what he's done since he got to the Phillies, and even help that he provided to Boston.
Hey, I'm a Yankees and a Nationals fan, and I was really sad to see Schwarber go. Schwarber was great with the fans. I like my seats because my mother-in-law is a season ticket holder, and our seats were in right field where he played. He was great with the fans, talk with the fans, would sign balls for little kids. I mean, we were really upset to see Schwarber go.
He's great for baseball.
Yeah.
He's great for baseball. And I think it's one of the things that's made this series so much more entertaining is because there's a lot of players on both squads who are just good for baseball. But at the same time,
except for Bryce Harper.
Yeah, Bryce Harper's an asshole. But like I said, so many, not every player, so many players that are good for baseball. But when you look at these teams, they're not outside of, obviously Phillies had some recent success, but over the last 20 years, you only had a couple of small runs from the Phillies. You had a couple of small runs from Arizona. And
all of these teams, except for Arizona, have had decent runs. I mean, Texas is playing Houston. Houston obviously has had some runs. Texas, within the last 15 years, has appeared in a couple of series. They have not won, but they've gotten them. Philly has been in the game for a while. Arizona and Houston. No, Arizona is the outlier.
Right. And
Arizona has not even been relevant since they beat the Yankees in 2001.
And Will can attest to the fact that I predicted Arizona being in the postseason this year last season because I could see it. They've been building. They've been meticulously building. Lavulo is an absolutely stellar fucking manager, and he has completely changed the culture on that team. And there is so much because Arizona has always had a very consistently decent farm system. And I think it helps that you're down here. They can do more. There's certain things that you can do when you have a farm system in a southern state versus when you have a farm system in Maine. You know what I mean? So
I kind of want to go to an Arizona baseball game and rent that suite with the hot tub just so I can chill in a hot tub and watch baseball.
It's a pool. It's a full pool.
It's a full pool?
It is a full pool. Yeah. It's, now it's only 5 foot deep. But I've watched a lot of games in that stadium. That's actually so after when it was originally built, Bank One Ballpark. I will always call it Bank One Ballpark. Chase.
Yeah, it was the Bob, right?
Yeah,
everybody called it the Bob.
That's what
exactly.
I heard. That's what I heard.
The reason why Arizona Diamondbacks mascot is a Bobcat is because of the fact that when the field was built, it was Bank One Ballpark, Bob, and even though the Diamondbacks is a mascot, there's not really a snake mascot costume that looks appealing.
No, you'd probably have to go to a sex shop and doctor it up a little bit.
Right. And so they went with the Bobcat because it's more, and also the Bobcat is more kid friendly. And so I think that's where that comes from. Fun fact for you. But I've watched multiple games in that stadium. I haven't ever watched a game from the pool, but that's because I don't like sitting that far out. I want to be closer. But I've been back there. I know people that have watched games in that pool. It's a great spot to watch a game. It's a great stadium to watch a game in. It honestly, it is. There's not really too many bad seats. Even when you're up in the 400s, you can still have a decent.
Is that a retractable roof?
Yes, I think it was one of the first MLB stadiums to have a retractable roof.
Either them or Seattle.
Yeah, and that's but Arizona is going to fight and stay alive in this series. I think that we see an extra innings game tomorrow. Even if Arizona loses, because the Phillies are talented, I'm not going to, as much as I want the D-backs I would love to see a D-backs Rangers World Series. Philly can win that game tomorrow. They can.
I mean, I'm gonna rip a Band-Aid off as much as I hate Philly. I would like, because I want to see someone win for the first time, I would like Texas to come out on top. I would like for them to run the gauntlet, hold the commissioner's trophy up.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Hold on. What do we always say about a commissioner on this show?
Fuck the commissioner.
Exactly. Exactly. Fuck it.
yeah, Rob Manfred sucks, and as far as I'm concerned, he can suck it because they're still the Cleveland Indians.
Manfred, Manfred did something that I didn't think was possible, and he is
made Bud Selig look masculine.
Yeah, he made Bud Selig look like a good commissioner
Yes, he
because
did.
of how bad he has surpassed that worst commissioner in baseball history line 10 fucking fold. It's absolutely insane.
I never understood how he got that damn job.
Like, I don't even understand, and I'm going off on a tangent here, and I'll reel myself back in for a minute, but I just got a rant. How are you going to make the bases bigger? Like, what was the point of that? Ricky Henderson stole 1,030 career bases. He would have stolen 6,000 bases with the size they are now. As fast as he is, he would have looped around and just put his hand on the back corner.
There is the thing that I don't understand
Fact.
when it comes to it is like that they said it was because they wanted to boost, base stealing. The pitch clock took care of that. They didn't need to make the bases
You
bigger.
want to boost base stealing? Have the coaches teach base stealing. Base stealing never left the game. The coaches were teaching you how to hit it out of the park.
It's supposed to be a skill that used to be taught.
It was, but it went away, and that's why. But my argument is you didn't need to make it is what it is. They're there, it is what it is. But you could have spurred the pitch clock, which after seeing its effects, I'm fully supportive of. The pitch clock did more for base stealing than the 3-inch increase in size for each for the sides.
What does more for base stealing? The first coach leaning into the base runner's ear and being like, watch the pitcher. He doesn't even have his hand on the ball. Go.
Yeah.
And they got away from that.
There's so many, and you're right. No, you're 100% right.
Game over.
San Francisco win?
Nope, they lost.
Yep.
Oh, sun's got to shine on a dog's ass sometime.
First cousins get the win.
There is, but back onto the talking about these two series. You've got the Rangers and Astros in the bottom of the ninth. Rangers are up 11-3, no outs. So that's
and this is game 7.
Game 7. So the Rangers are going to the World Series.
Here we go.
Don't say it. Don't do that. Don't say that.
Can I say
I'm a Yankees fan, and when you say shit like that, it brings you back to 2004.
Can I say it? Can
Just
I say
let
something?
the game play out.
Can I say it? Can I say it? Can I say it? Can I say it?
Yes.
Fuck the Astros.
No, it's a lot of talent on that roster, on the Rangers roster, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, whether they're playing Philly or Arizona.
And you know what? The Rangers, man, I don't know what their fan base is like, but they've been in the league for a long time. They had Nolan Ryan. They had a slew of great players come through that organization. I'd like to see them finally put the trophy up. I'd like to see them unfurl the banner. And if the Nationals and the Yankees aren't in the playoffs, I'd like to see someone win for the first time. And the other teams have won. So I'd like to see someone win. I'd like to see a new team win.
Got you.
I don't hate that.
Also because, Ando hates Texas. So I'm just rooting for Texas as a state.
Here we go. Ando's not able to defend himself, sir. Ando's not able to defend himself, sir.
Oh god.
I'm sure I'll hear about it on Saturday, so I don't care.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good series. We're going to see. There's also been a lot of talk. We'll wrap up with this. It looks like there is some consideration leading that the Yankees might make a move towards Juan Soto.
Wow.
Yankees fan, I'm interested. Do you think that that's something that they should look at doing?
I think so. I mean, because Aaron Judge is good enough because Aaron Judge can run that center field.
Oh yeah.
Soto can't. So you get Soto in, you got Judge. Judge is like almost like 10 feet tall. You
just put Soto in. You put Soto in right where you need the speed.
You put Soto in right and move Judge to center.
Which he spends most of his time anyway.
And if you have Soto batting third and Judge batting fourth, that's formidable. That's a tough. You don't know who to call your bullpen out for that because you can't do.
And that's a tough pitch.
It is because if you walk one, you still have to pitch to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is, and that's why to me at that point it doesn't matter. You put one batting second, one batting third, or one batting third, one batting fourth. Regardless of which order they're in, you're going to have to pitch to one.
So wait, why are the Padres giving up on Soto though? I mean that's the big question.
There's so much talent in that team; they have to lighten the load. They don't have a choice. That's the.
But they're going to lighten the load of a
they can't pay
World Series champion that averages 30 home runs a year.
But you can't pay that man though.
But here's the thing, and technically they could because they got Silicon Valley money coming in. But the problem is they've got the Padres are so flipped on so many of their contracts.
Well, I mean, what's his name? Tatis fucked them.
Tatis fucked them, and they fucked themselves with the contract on Xander Bogaerts. And I'm not saying that as a Boston fan. I'm saying that there is nobody.
No, they overpaid for him.
They $179 million contract for a middle-aged shortstop, because at 28, when he signed that deal, he's a middle-aged shortstop in Major League Baseball terms. Why are you doing a long-term $180 million deal?
Who honestly was made better because he was in Boston and he had a better team surrounding him.
And why would you pay somebody like that who won't finish who's not going to live up to that contract? He's going to be gone within the middle.
I mean, there are some teams where they make those purchases, and I agree with, like when Washington signed Jason Worth to that contract.
Yeah,
he was not worth that money, but Washington wanted to draw the fans in, and they wanted to show the fans that they were willing to spend money. So they paid for Jason Worth. But the Xander Bogaerts thing just doesn't make sense to me because the Padres were an established team. Washington was still new.
Yeah. And
Washington wanted to just be like, guys, we're here for you. We are going to spend the money. And they gave Worth I think $150 million or whatever. Right. And it was like, he's not worth that, but we're telling you, we're committing and we're going to spend the money to get a winning team on the field. Padres, the Bogaerts thing made no sense to me.
What surprised me about that deal is there's no way any team was even over $150 million.
And Boston is loyal to its players. You don't think Boston would have given him that money if he was worth it?
Exactly. Well, and so when Boston traded Mookie Betts, it was because he needed a big deal, or he wanted a big deal. He deserved a big deal, but Boston needed to offload some dead payroll, and I get that. I 100% get that. As much as I hated losing Mookie Betts, I understand. But with Xander Bogaerts, now they didn't mess up because they could have gotten him. Boston could have gotten him on a smaller deal 2 years before he left, if they would have made the right offer. But they were undercutting then when they shouldn't have been. And this is why I go back to the fact that I firmly believe that Boston will not be a World Series team until John Henry sells it. But
no, when they got rid of Theo Epstein, they won off the remnants of the teams that Theo Epstein built.
Yep.
But they're not gonna, and I'm not saying this as a Yankees fan, it's just they got rid of Epstein.
And
Epstein put together an immaculate team that could have been a dynasty. He left. They won with his remnants. It was kind of like Barry Switzer and the Cowboys.
no, you're right. Well, but
And now is Epstein even in baseball anymore?
I don't know. I think he works for the league.
I don't know.
I mean, he was on the Cubs and he broke the Cubs curse, so he's got the magic touch.
Well, and
Like,
look at but even when Dave Dombrowski came into Boston, he didn't do a horrible job. Now, it wasn't the best, and he did make some bad deals, and that's why we ended up losing Mookie Betts, was because we had some dead deals that we needed to get off the books first. But Dave Dombrowski did a better job, but John Henry, and now Boston's dealing with the fact that they can't find a good GM because John Henry fired Hein Bloom for doing his fucking job, doing exactly what John Henry told him to do.
well, honestly, man, Boston fans too are like Star Wars fans, where I don't know if I'd want to be the I'd take out of 29. I'd take 29 out of the 30 general manager jobs in MLB. I would not go to Boston because those obnoxious accents. I go to like Quincy Market and be like, "Way to get rid of our shortstop, fuckface," and I'd be like, "Dude, I'm only here for nachos." Like, come on, man.
New York, Boston and New York sports media are the worst markets to have to deal with being a GM or a coach in or a player in the nation. And
I mean, the worst is New York because you have to deal with all the pressure of the press, but
Right.
like internal pressure, it's
But the
Boston
fans-
hands down.
Oh yeah, hands down. Because it's true. Speaking as a Red Sox fan, Red Sox fans can be a gigantic pain in the ass, and it's
The accent.
It is.
It's
It
the
is. That's
accent.
the worst part about it, and the fact that they're always fucking drunk doesn't help.
Stupid redheads.
They're already blasted.
Like, well, like I'll talk to customers that are in the Northeast, and I love writing for customers in the Northeast because I can almost always talk baseball with them.
Right.
And even the female customers, like I'll be like, "Oh, you live in Boston? Yeah, I'm trying to make it up that way next year to go see a Red Sox game. Finally go to Fenway for the first time." And it'll turn into a 45-minute phone call because they will stop and talk to me and give me, like, I've got a fucking list of how to have the best experience at Fenway from people that are season ticket holders. But the first word out of every single one of their mouth is, "Don't go sit in the fucking bleachers because they're all drunk college kids and you will get in a fight, even though you're a Red Sox fan." It's like,
I will attest to that, not at Boston, but I sat in the bleachers at Wrigley, and I will never. Wrigley was great, but if I ever go back, I will sit in a seat. I'm not going back to the bleachers. The sun was beating down on you. You were hot, and everyone was an asshole.
But for me, if I go to Wrigley, like, I would want to go out there just to like see what the view is like from out there, just to, in person, especially the
It's a
history.
video for TikTok.
I saw it. I don't regret it, but when I go back, I'll get a seat.
Yeah, no.
It's a video for TikTok.
Yep.
Stuff
Yeah,
like
and
that.
that's the thing.
Mhm.
And that's the thing is, like, go out there, take a picture before the game starts. But I'm sitting in a regular fucking seat because fuck that. Just
Seven is in his palatial estate.
And I mean, but are we going to get to that Hall of Fame debate that was on the chat?
okay. So, yeah, that's right. We'll close out with this. So,
Yes.
you can only pick one of these two options to go into the Hall of Fame: Barry Bonds or Pete Rose.
Bonds.
And John, I'll let you start it off.
I think
Bonds.
I said Rose.
No.
Rose?
I think I
No.
said Rose.
So
No.
hold on. Why Pete Rose?
I just think he's one of the that was one of my favorite players of all time. I think he's earned it. I think he's earned the nod to be kept out for some shit. And again, I understand what he did. I get it. I understand. And I'm not absolving him for any of that. I understand. But at the same point, you got players in Hall of Fames and other sports that's done a whole lot more, i.e. Ray Lewis.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? He deserved to be there. Look what he did for the game. I just think he deserves it. He should get that nod.
Counterpoint.
Sure.
Okay. I have respect for Pete Rose. as a baseball historian, Ty Cobb is my favorite baseball player.
That's understandable.
Pete Rose worked his ass off to break that record, and I have the utmost respect for him. But I picked Bonds, and here's my rationale. Logically, Pete Rose knew what he was doing was wrong.
You said that before.
He knew what he was doing was wrong. And if Joe Jackson, who never admitted to gambling, and
there's multiple accounts that Shoeless Joe was not involved in any of that.
And he's blackballed. And if Joe Jackson doesn't get in, logically Pete Rose shouldn't get in.
Well, and
Barry Bonds, hold on. Let me cook for a minute.
He said, "Let me cook."
Barry Bonds didn't break any rules. There were no rules. He is being punished retroactively.
Yep.
This is true.
There was no rules. And if you're going to say Barry Bonds can't get in the Hall of Fame for a retroactive rule, are you going to put an asterisk next to Cal Ripken's name because he took amphetamines in the 80s?
Hey, speaking of that,
to get through the double headers?
Yeah.
To break Lou Gehrig's record?
Yeah.
I mean,
where is the line drawn?
Let's make it even smaller. Let's take away Diego Herman's perfect game at the end of this season because he was drunk while he was throwing it. Or what was that one pitcher who threw a perfect game on acid? We're gonna go ahead.
Doc Ellis. Doc Ellis. I have his autograph. He's my hero.
Doc Ellis throws a perfect game on acid, and are we gonna take those off the record books?
Well, I don't know if LSD is a performance enhancing drug.
It's really not.
It might be. It might be. We don't know.
Maybe he had some kind of special LSD.
I mean, but my point is, Bonds wasn't breaking rules. There was no rule against it, and you can't retro. I mean, I'm of the mind that you can't retroactively punish somebody.
But my counterpoint,
Rose knew what he was doing was wrong, and he broke the rules.
But my counterpoint to you is this. The reason why Barry isn't in there, and again, you did say a good point. He didn't break a rule, but look at who, and Seven, I told you this before. This whole committee needs to be redone.
Absolutely.
No. And look at what it says under my name. Billy Martin belongs in the Hall of Fame. The press needs to get knocked out.
Exactly.
The press needs to go away.
It needs to go away.
The committee should be the living members of the hall.
Yep.
The living members of the hall should vote to see who gets to join them.
Yep.
And it's bullshit. You have players that haven't broken any rules that belong in, but they were mean to the press, players and managers. For example, Billy Martin. Billy Martin was mean to the press, so the press doesn't vote for him. Brett Saberhagen, mean to the press doesn't vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Kingman, 450 career home runs. The only player with above 400 home runs, not in the Hall of Fame. They will not put him in.
Curt Schilling, don't get me wrong. Curt Schilling is an asshole.
One.
Curt Schilling is an asshole, and I will say this on record.
But this goes back to the ethics thing. What did he do on the field?
Right.
On the field, he played the fucking game.
Yes.
And my point. And here's the thing. I will say that I do believe, objectively, both Pete Rose as a player, clearly he should not be allowed in as a coach. Nobody disputes that. As a player, Rose should be allowed in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. But if I've got to pick just one of them, I'm going to pick Barry Bonds. And the reason why I'm going to pick Barry Bonds is when Pete Rose did what he did, baseball was thriving. And it was amazing, but baseball was thriving. When Barry Bonds did what he did, he was a part of the contingent of players that saved baseball after the 95 strike. And this was despite the fact, or this was also with the fact that before the strike, before any alleged steroid use occurred, Barry Bonds
Allegedly.
already had a Hall of Fame career.
And of the
Allegedly.
4 prime home run hitters of that era, he was better than 2 of them. Griffey was the king.
Yes.
Athletically, he killed Sosa and McGuire.
And that's the thing is
Yeah.
from that era, Ken Griffey Jr. is the only player that you can logically put ahead of Barry Bonds.
And he gets so
Because-
disrespected.
He does. And Barry Bonds just legitimately loves baseball.
A lot of it though, Bonds bought upon himself by being a dick.
Yeah.
But that's why I think though it's the press should not be allowed to vote.
The pressure-
It needs to be it just needs to be former players
Yep.
who's in the Hall of Fame
It
right
needs
now.
to be the members of the hall.
It needs
It
to
needs
be
to
members
be
of the
it,
hall.
it
and
needs to
members
be a
of the
country
hall
club.
only.
and the members of the hall, and I'm even going to throw one wrinkle into that. There should also be a, we look at the players that are eligible, and there is some way of factoring in a fan vote that can get a player over the hump. Because if you're still going to do
gotcha.
No, I don't like that. I really, I'm sorry. I see where you're coming from, but I don't like that because then you have like weird players getting in that don't belong.
No, you
You
don't.
You have like
No, you don't,
you have like
because-
Mets players getting
No,
in.
you
that
don't. But no, you don't.
Listen,
Because if you do it right, if you do it based on that ballot, and we're not writing anybody in. If you do
No,
it
no.
based on that ballot, we're not writing anyone in. Just that
And-
one ballot alone, it makes sense.
and I'm not even saying that that the fans can pick an entire player. What I'm saying is,
All right, I misunderstood you. I'm sorry.
you're fine. That
Yeah.
what I'm saying is they can sway somebody that's on the cusp. So when we look at something like, we'll use Kurt Schilling as an example, because in the last vote where Kurt Schilling was eligible with the press vote, he missed by like a couple of votes. Like it was right there, and the fan vote could swing that when it's when there's like we'll say, just for as an argument's sake, like a 5% difference.
Right.
Don Mattingly didn't even get that close, and he's got a 308 average.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
This is where that can come into play. You have it where it has a marginal impact, but it's not going to do something crazy like
Right.
putting Bartolo Colon into the fucking Hall of Fame.
And
Don't get me wrong, I love Bartolo Colon. Not knocking him at all.
Right.
He's a talented individual, but he's not a Hall of Fame.
but the thing about and that's the thing why the press needs to get knocked out of it is because Don Mattingly has the same problem that Tony Romo has in the NFL. I think Tony Romo statistically is a Hall of Famer, but he's the only good Cowboy to not win a Super Bowl, so he's not going to get in. Don Mattingly is the only Yankee captain to not have a World Series, so they're never going to vote him in.
Well, and here's my thing with Romo. If Romo has at least one Super Bowl win, he gets in before he loses eligibility.
Okay, so does Warren Moon not belong in the Hall of Fame? Jim Kelly? Dan Marino?
Jim's a good one. Jim's a good one.
I think
Controversial, but good one.
but,
I mean,
but-
Dan Marino, Fran Tarkenton. I mean,
but-
there's a lot of great players that never won a championship. Does
Right.
Ernie Banks not belong in the Hall of Fame because he was a
Right,
shortstop
here's
for the
my argument.
Cubs?
Here's my argument, and here's my I see what you're saying, but here's my argument. Tony Romo was an above-average quarterback, but Tony Romo was not a great quarterback.
You pull Tony Romo's stats up, he stacks up to Brady in all of those seasons.
No, he
Pull
doesn't.
his stats up.
No, we don't.
Pull his stats up. He stacks up to Brady. He
don't.
just doesn't get the
No, we
wins.
don't. Not in the
He
one
does.
category. Not in the one
He
category
does.
that matters. Not
The
in two
only
categories.
problem is Tony Romo.
But he does not. But he does not meet the efficiency of a Tom Brady. We already know that he doesn't meet the accuracy of a Tom Brady, and I hate to say it, Tom Brady has won when Tony Romo has not.
But that's
Tony
my
Romo,
point. Championships shouldn't
Tony Romo has
dictate.
failed. He's failed the Dallas Cowboys more often than not.
So,
But that's my point, though, is that the championships shouldn't be a factor.
No,
So, Don, if Bernie Kosar wins the Super Bowl, he's in the Hall of Fame. But Bernie Kosar made it to a couple AFC championships, and Ernest Biner fucked him out of the Hall of Fame.
What's the difference between Tony Romo and Matt Ryan?
Here's the thing. I'm going to say something that's going to.
Tony Romo's stats, pull them up.
I'm looking at him right now, and here's the thing that I'm going to tell you. In an average, we're just going to break this down to a simple average per game. Okay? Per game.
And I'll say this before you go even further. I will admit, Tony Romo did not throw that many interceptions, but when he did that, he failed fucking spectacularly.
Okay? And here's the thing that we're going to look at. Tony Romo, when unless he got injured in the season, threw a high number of interceptions. Okay, you have an average. Now his technical per season average is only 9, but the seasons where he didn't throw more than 9, he didn't play in every game. And you look at he's had.
He had what's it called, back problems or whatever.
He did.
He had a lot of injury issues. Now, some of that is on the Cowboys for not giving him enough protection, but Tony and clearly we see through his announcing that Tony Romo has game vision. Tony Romo's problem was that his game vision did not translate to his ability. He did not have the deep ball, the accuracy, or the game awareness of Tom Brady. And as much as I'm not a Tom Brady fan, I'm sorry, but I cannot even begin to allow.
That's why I said
to say that they were similar. They were not. Tony Romo didn't deserve to carry Tom Brady's fucking jock strap most of the time.
And that's why I say Tony Romo is closer to Matt Ryan than anybody.
I mean, but I'm just saying the championships don't make the player. I mean, because when the championships make the player argument, then you're saying Trent Dilfer is a better quarterback than Warren Moon.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
is, but I mean, it's just
Dan Marino. There is nobody that can dispute the fact that despite the fact that Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl, Dan Marino was a great fucking quarterback. He was a great quarterback. You cannot objectively look at Tony Romo and say he was a great quarterback.
Okay, and that's what brings me back. That's what brings me back to baseball. Was Don Mattingly not a great first baseman?
Don Mattingly was one of the greatest first basemen to ever play the game.
Yeah. Okay.
And he should be in the Hall of Fame.
So why is Oral Hershiser not in the Hall of Fame?
Good question.
That's a good one.
That's one that the Veterans Committee should have taken care of.
Why? Like the man threw. You know how hard it is to throw for one scoreless inning. He threw for 59 consecutive scoreless innings. Mm-hmm. No one even considers the guy.
He's a great pitcher.
Billy Martin, who is like my favorite human being of all time because I'm pretty sure I'm him reincarnate. Like he won wherever he went, but he was mean to the press, and the press said Billy Martin was mean to us, so we're not going to vote him in.
And I'm going to get on my high box for a quick second. Then we're going to get on out of here. I think we as a generation give the media too much power.
Absolutely.
I really think we do.
I don't understand why baseball gave the writers the authority to vote.
I never got that.
To vote the players in, because when I'm saying, like, when I'm looking at all the stats, it's like you look at Babe Ruth, the initial class. It was, I believe, Christy Mathewson, Walter Johnson, Babe Ruth, Honus Wagner, Ty Cobb.
Yep.
Ty Cobb got in. He had like 98% of the votes. Babe Ruth got like 95. Who the fuck voted against Babe Ruth to get into the Hall of Fame? Like, who really looked at that ballot, like, with a sane mind and said, you know what, that fat fuck isn't getting in?
Oh, I bet you it was some of the analytics people. That won't be easy. I
But
bet you.
at that point, analytics was, having to fly, ride a train across the country to get a copy of a newspaper article so you could probably properly read it, or wait for it to get brought back to you by the Pony Express.
Even someone as divisive as Ty Cobb, who retired with like 32, I think he set 32 records in MLB.
Yep.
He got 98%. Who was the dickhead sitting in the room like, yeah, he's not good enough?
Well,
who was that guy?
I mean, none. But really, none of those players were unanimous.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me Chrissy
There's
Matthews?
I believe there's only one unanimous player in history.
Exactly. You're going to tell me Honus Wagner didn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame right off the bat?
Well, my boy.
But I mean, but who? That's why the baseball writers don't deserve, because who sits there and is like, yeah, Honus Wagner was bow-legged, that little bitch. I ain't voting for him.
Exactly.
Who's gonna do?
But here's the thing that gets me: who the hell is going to vote against Hank Aaron?
Mm.
Who?
And Hank Aaron was like, I don't know his stats off the top of my head. I think it was in the 80%. There was like a good 15% of people that didn't vote for him.
Stupid, man. Come on now.
Wasn't Jackie Robinson didn't get every vote?
Nope.
No. And the man died early to play a goddamn game.
Yeah. Exactly. No, you're 100% correct. And you're right. The selection process for Major League Baseball Hall of Fame needs to change. And it should have changed probably 30 years ago.
Because I'm gonna ask this question: who qualified?
I'm sorry. I'll let you ask the question in a minute. Let me just make this quick point. It was different in the 30s when they made the Hall of Fame, and you had 8 teams in each league, and you had like one reporter representing each team. But now there's 30 teams, and the reporters are fucking stupid, and they don't even really follow the game.
And you're bringing my point to the forefront, because my issue is who are telling these people they're qualified for this vote.
And it's been proven. Like Dan Le Batard, you guys know who Dan Le Batard is.
Yep.
ESPN guy, like he's the idiot. He sells his votes. He said he sells his votes. He's gone on record saying he sells his votes, and they still won't fix it.
This is the part that frustrates me. Is like Dan Le Batard is one. Bob fucking Nightingale. That's all I have to say. Because anybody that's around baseball knows exactly what I'm fucking talking about. And Bob Nightingale with a fucking vote. What the fuck is that?
And you need to be objective. And I don't know how people can't be objective, but like if I was on a voting committee for the Hall of Fame, I think what should happen is I honestly think what they should do is they should remove the names. They should remove the names from each candidate, and everybody should just get a sheet. Player A, statistics. Player B, statistics. Player C, statistics. And then the personal shit is removed.
Yeah, but you see, you're being objective, and that's just not fair.
How is that not fair? If that was fair, Billy Martin would be in the Hall of Fame.
Because it makes too much damn sense, Ambrose.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Come on. And here's the thing. The league, and I think it's one thing that people don't really realize, that Major League Baseball gives less of a fuck about its players than any other professional sport.
Go back and look at it, guys. Go back and look at it, guys. When was from a standpoint of major marketing, when was the last player who really got that? Outside of Aaron Judge, maybe. When was the last big time marketing and promoted throughout Major League Baseball?
Well, baseball has had a problem. This is I'll make this brief because this could be a whole show on its own. We can do a special. Baseball made a conscious decision years ago, and this is why the NFL passed baseball as America's sport.
Yep.
Baseball made a conscious decision years ago to worship the past.
See, you can't do that. You can't do that. You gotta move on.
And football looked to the future. Baseball made a conscious decision to worship the past, and I think a lot of it was kind of latent racism.
Oh yeah.
The black players were coming up and they were becoming the faces of the organization, and the old owners didn't want that. So they started bringing back the white players and making nostalgic things. And it's become ingrained in baseball's culture. You worship everything before like 1970. And it's hurt the sport. It's hurt the sport, and that's why like more than half the players aren't even American. They're not even white or black. We're looking at Asian and we're looking at Hispanic players.
Yep.
And it's damaged the sport almost irreparably.
The thing of and the issue with baseball and like I was saying, the issue with the baseball league comes down to the fact that basketball has progressed. Like Adam Silver is the best GM in professional sports right now, in my opinion.
Agreed.
It looks like Gollum.
He does, but he has made everything around basketball marketing is around.
That's only because he can fly with those ears. That's not fair. If I had ears like that, I'd fly all over the place.
It's the marketing in baseball or the marketing in basketball is about the players. The NFL got away from it a little bit, but now if you look at marketing in the NFL now, it's about the players.
Mm-hmm.
Major League Baseball is not about the players. It's about the team. It's about the game.
But
it's also with baseball though. It's about the past. I bought tickets to an Orioles game last year. I can't tell you I couldn't tell you one player that was on the Orioles roster last year, but my ticket had Cal Ripken on it.
Look at look at how organizations mishandle the past. Dennis Eckersley did more in his time with the Los Angeles Angels, or I'm sorry, with the Oakland A's than he did with the Boston Red Sox. Dennis Eckersley has his name in the Ring of Honor in Oakland. They have his name on chairs in the upper section of that building. You video that went viral last year, the year before, where a guy was getting blown in the upper bleachers.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Eckersley section in that video.
Man, that guy stole my dream.
But Dennis Eckersley, like if you look at the way up until he retired last year, Dennis Eckersley was an announcer and primarily and all of his work in baseball was revolved around his time in Boston. So many so many organizations fumble their relationships with their players. They try to act like the past, they try to recall the past with all of their stuff, but they do a horrible job of it. And
it's like MLB is like Disney. They don't embrace the future.
Nope.
You ask the average Yankee fan to name 10 Yankees, and they'll name people from the 20s to the 50s. They'll say Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle before they say Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole.
Yep.
It's
the future of that organization, by the way.
What'd you say?
Which they are the future of that organization.
Yeah, and that's the fundamental problem with baseball. Like I said, when Cal Ripken's on my ticket, Cal Ripken shouldn't be on my ticket if I'm buying tickets to an Orioles game. It should be an Orioles player currently.
Yeah. And what's crazy is there's decent amount of talent. Even there's a few veterans up there that you can reference, but Orioles have a very long history of decent players that they can pull from. Why are we just?
My bad.
So, and I know we're gonna wrap up because we've been going for almost 2 hours. That's something we only do when Dan's on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This has been a great conversation. I didn't mean to.
Shout out to Dan. Shout out to Walmart and Trailer Parks.
Hey, where's Dan? He didn't pull his knife out today.
He in the staff meeting.
But no, it's baseball has lost itself as America's pastime because what you said, they're not relying on the players for marketing. Look at the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers roster from this year was just absolutely fucking broken. But you saw a couple of commercials with Kershaw. That was it. That was the extent.
And that's
all of the World Series champion pedigree that you have on what was quite possibly statistically the best fucking roster in the National League, and all you've got is Clayton Kershaw. Freddie Freeman is one of the most well-liked players in the game. Mookie Betts, one of the most well-liked players in the game. And you're telling me that
here's the problem is because it starts from the top up and it starts with commissioners. And baseball and football, when the NBA eventually gets its shit together, they can pass baseball as the number 2 sport.
They're already on the way.
They're on the way. They just have PR issues, and they haven't quite figured it out. When they figure it out, they'll pass baseball.
Yeah.
Pete Rozelle looked at television and he said, "This is the future. We need every team to get on board with this. This is how we're going to get big. This is how we're going to make money. This is fuck radio. We're all going to get rich off of this." And
Yep.
Pete Rozelle called the owners in. He organized revenue sharing. He got everyone on board with it. The NFL looked to the future. Baseball saw TV as a fad. Baseball did not want people at home watching on their TV. They wanted people in the stadiums.
Yep.
And they were all old. If I can make a metaphor, they were like railroad barons, the old owners. They did not want to move into the future.
Nope.
They thought their parks were good enough. They thought the radio was good enough. They did not want to embrace moving that extra step.
It even affects kids because I don't know a kid right now that tells me he wants to be an MLB player. I'm getting NFL. I'm getting NBA. Hell, I even get some people saying, "I want to play soccer."
No, because
soccer's surging right now in the U.S. hugely, and baseball's going to fall to that if they don't figure shit out.
Yeah.
No, because baseball it priced itself out of kids that used to like the sport. Like I grew up in New York. I go from White Plains. I'd hang out in the Bronx. You'd see kids playing in dirt lots.
Yep.
The Hispanic kids would have the milk cartons as gloves. They were just playing the game. But now that's lost. The game has not marketed towards the future of the game.
Nope.
And Seven, I give you the final word.
It's not just that, but look at what happened last year. So Mookie Betts, while he in LA, he wore a T-shirt that was talking about getting black people into baseball, and
Torrey Hunter tried the same thing.
Yep, and people were offended that he did that.
Right.
But black people with some amazing, talented athletes, speed and finesse that black athletes do really fucking well, could really elevate the game of baseball. But they're not marketing it to black athletes. Black athletes could thrive, especially with all of the money that goes into baseball contracts. You're telling me that black athletes can make $200 million, have a better chance of making $200 million in Major League Baseball than they do in the NFL, but they're not looking at it.
Because the problem is baseball is the only major sport that doesn't invest.
Yep.
You got the NHL. I used to play ice hockey. The NHL instituted hockey in Harlem in New York. They got hockey integrated in the black community. The NHL funded that.
Yep.
So we want to expand. There's only so many white people that can play. We want to invite more people into the sport. So the NHL expanded into hockey in Harlem. The NFL has done it for years. They've fields and projects for years. The NBA, it comes naturally. It's easy to pave a court and set up hoops.
Yeah.
Baseball does not spend the money or put the resources forth. You can't go through a housing project. You go through a housing project, you'll see every type of sport. You'll see a fucking tennis court in a housing project before you see a baseball field.
Yep. That's it.
And I agree. All right, you guys. I want to say thank you for everybody out there who joined us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We do appreciate all you guys being here for this episode of the Sports Report. Hey, this is a great episode to take with you on your commutes, workouts, or whatnot. We had some good conversation tonight. I want to thank both of you guys for being here. And we will
Thank
see
you, man, for having me. I love being on the show.
anytime, man. And we will see you guys again next week. Everyone have a good week and take care. Oh, real quick before we go, I just got to get this out there because it's been on my heart and soul. Fuck Rob Manfred. Fuck him.
Rob Manfred sucks.
He sucks. Fuck him. All right, you guys. Wahala. Peace.